What if the path to living a more vibrant and empowered life, full color, wasn't about doing more, but about doing things in a way that matters? Welcome to Say Yes with Kat. If you're ready to move from surviving to thriving, and you want doable tools that honor your whole self, mind, body, and spirit, you're in the right place. Are you ready to say yes? Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome to the 12th episode of Say Yes with Kat. Today we are in gorgeous Maine. For those of you who are checking us out on YouTube, you can catch a glimpse of our view as we do the podcast today, because we're going to be talking about a guilty pleasure, social media. You know, the place where you can watch Norman tell you how awesome you are, or maybe salivate as someone manages to cook an entire 4-course meal from their bed. Or maybe you want to learn about quantum physics, and alongside of that, you're going to see the new baby in the family all in just 5 minutes. I want to explore what all of this availability means for our health, specifically our social and intellectual health. So I've invited back the doctor. That's right. Cynthia's here in the studio today to share her thoughts and help us break this topic down. What's up, lady? Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, happy to be here. And we're in beautiful Maine. For those of you watching this on YouTube, you can see the lovely, lovely backdrop we have here. I think this topic is really a good one. Social media is something that lots of people spend a lot of time on. And while it can fill your time, it can also have some negative effects. It can impact your feelings of self-worth. It can increase your stress levels. What was the other one I said?
Makes it hard to remember how to talk to people.
Yeah, it actually can take time away from in-person connection or other types of connection. So relationships and connection, super duper important, but this isn't always the way to go about that.
Yep. Let's talk for a hot minute on why this is considered a guilty pleasure. Let's start with the pleasure part. It feels good. Social media, the reason why it's so popular is because it's working with our brain's reward system. Basically, we push a button, we find something new and cool, some kind of novelty. Maybe we're having a positive social interaction. These are rewards. And when we receive them, it triggers this release of dopamine. That's the all natural feel-good chemical we're all striving to get. But there's some other ways that we can get the dopamine to release.
Yeah, you can release dopamine through exercise, outdoor time. We're
like
outdoor
here in
right
Maine.
now.
Yeah.
It feels great. New types of body movements. So if you were to dance, do rock climbing, trampolines, any way to engage your body, listening to music, being creative, whatever that means to you. It's different for everyone. Eating healthy foods rich in nutrients, interaction. So the social interaction, the face-to-face interaction, even touch or massage can increase that dopamine.
Yeah, I feel like I watch a lot of videos of all of that happening on social media, and I forget that I can get the dopamine release by engaging in those myself. The guilty part of this guilty pleasure comes in because I think we all sort of inherently know, we're all smart enough to suspect that too much pleasure may not actually be a good thing. Social media, it's so easy to get that dopamine kick, but we have so much repeated exposure to this stimuli, and what they're finding is it's actually reducing how much dopamine is released each time. So think about the first time you laughed at the cat video. It's not as funny the 50th time. It's not because you don't find it funny. It's because you've had repeated exposure to that stimuli, and the dopamine is not getting released at the same level.
Right. So what's happening in your brain is that it naturally produces a certain amount of dopamine. So if you're having external things create so much dopamine, then your body reacts by trying to get back into its natural balance, and it will actually not produce as much, or the receptors that receive the dopamine will become less sensitive, less reactive.
Yeah. And if this is your daily state, you can end up with chronic dopamine deficiency. It basically means you're not going to experience the same level of pleasure anymore. So signs that this may be true for you: you might have a hard time focusing. Maybe you're having memory issues, increased anxiety, and just kind of generally feeling mentally drained. I mean, these are real issues. You can still become addicted to social media, and these are signs that you may be struggling without a little bit. So How does someone know if they're overusing?
I think you can think about looking at your behavior. Are you waking up in the morning and the first thing you want to do is check social media and start scrolling? Or is it also the way you've started to wind down at night, and so it's the last thing you do before you go to bed? So that's one indicator. You can think about how it makes you feel. Do you watch something, engage in something, and feel inspired and empowered, or do you feel empty and irritated? So paying attention to how it impacts your mood. And also, are you forgetting things, procrastinating, struggling to finish tasks because of frequent checking in? So you're on social media so much that it's impacting your other activities.
And speaking of, the other activities, if you stop doing those other activities we talked about that release the dopamine, that's another sign you're overusing social media to compensate. So it's okay. There is a healthy amount of social media usage, and this is what it could kind of look like.
You could log off feeling inspired or connected. You can walk away and apply something you learned that day. So it had some benefit to you and you can use it during the day. And you still find the time to prioritize the other activities that release the dopamine. So you're engaging in activities that you enjoy outside of social media.
Yeah, I think what's important is you realize that you are in control of your scroll time. It's not controlling you. You're not losing moments in life dialed into your phone or whatever you're using for social media checking. So, audience, it's fine if you find yourself kind of edging closer to overusing. Fear not, because this is our 10-part series, and it's all about supercharging what you already do. So we're not here to tell you to give up social media. What we're here today to talk to you about is how you can upgrade the scroll game by feeding your brain and not the algorithm. So what we're talking about is using social media with intention. So we want to refocus our use of the social media away from the addictive clips of the cucumber cutting and towards content that's strengthening our intellectual pillar of health by showing us micro-learning content, such as maybe watching a little bit of the cucumber cutting video, but then digging into the health benefits of cucumbers and learning how you can incorporate that into your gardens and onto your plate. We also want to move away from silently consuming social media content of the strangers that we don't know. And we want to move it towards strengthening our social pillar of health by deepening the connections that we're making virtually.
So let's start with the shift towards quick bursts of learning through social media. So today, social media is used by people of all generations, and each one has its own nuance of how they learn what they want to learn about. By understanding this, we can begin to create our own approach to how we'll shift away from mindless scrolling to intentional learning.
Let's break it down by generation so that you can figure out what's resonating for you and allow that information to help you decide what intentional shift you're going to make at the end of this podcast. Okay? We're going to be figuring out how you're going to shift from scrolling to learning from your social media. Let's start with Gen Z. Okay, this is age like 12 to 27. These people grew up with smartphones. Okay, they like pop out and they're like, hey, I know how to do this. It's insane. They've always had them around. So their brains are so used to quickly adapting to micro content and learning. For them, the best topics that they want to start to focus their learning on could be things like career hacks. These are people who are in that professional growth part of their life, maybe not the 12-year-olds, but hopefully the 27-year-olds. They could also utilize mental health tools. My niece, when she was as young as like 8, I think started learning about self-awareness and yoga. So mental health tools is a great micro-learning content for them. And also micro skills, like tutorials on how to use Canva or other tools that, again, are going to benefit them in their professional life. I also want to talk about millennials. I'm an elder millennial, true story. I'm kind of in the middle, right? Like, I grew up with textbooks and the Oregon Trail, the old school computer game, and MySpace.
Oh, no.
I know, right? I tend to be a hybrid learner. So I like textbooks in front of me, but I also like this sort of fast learner experience online. So I'm going to prefer a mix of like short insights with options to do deeper dives. So we're talking about more complex topics like financial literacy, health optimization, and even parenting hacks. So, Cynthia, I'm going to let you talk about the next generation.
Gen X, age about 44 to 59, and boomers, age 60 to 78. So I am Gen X, somewhere in there. I won't specify. I do remember TVs that you had to get up and turn the channel on a dial. I'll leave it there. But this is the old school crowd that likes school books and blackboards and things of that nature. Before there were even whiteboards, just the blackboards. Tend to prefer traditional structured learning, but we can adapt to social media learning. In fact, brain scans show that using social media for learning boosts neuroplasticity at any age. It's never too late. So the best topics for this group would be leadership, for example, in a little bit later stage of your career, and how do you lead with compassion and being environmentally friendly and all of these different things. Tech updates, so getting the latest and trying to keep on top of the trends. Wellness routines, we're certainly thinking about our health and wellness and longevity at this point. And for boomers, hobby tutorials, health management, and news analysis to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, I love that it's never too late, right?
Never too late.
Whatever the age, learning something new every day, that's what's going to keep your brain young. We need to consider that our brain volume starts to decrease in our 30s. Isn't that insane?
That's not good news.
Yeah. So with it beginning that early, I just feel like helping our brain stay young by learning something new is a really good way to keep it strong and healthy. I love that workout music from the 80s. I mean, honestly, I always wanted to be one of those people like with the big hair and those giant leg warmer sock things that they had in the workout videos. They were amazing. And what was really cool is I think that this era of the 80s at-home workout videos, they taught people that they could work out from the comfort of their own home. They got to know from their living room Cindy Crawford, Jane Fonda. I mean, even Angela Lansbury from Murder, She Wrote, she had workout videos. And what they did is they sort of created these subcultures where people felt connected and they felt this sense of community. They could go out for lunch or go into town and see people with sort of this shared sense of style. People who had the same energy and were into the same type of movements. These would spark conversations. Oh my goodness, you're doing the same workout I am. Or maybe someone walking around with a t-shirt, from the same workout star that they saw. Whatever it was, the reason why we're bringing these up is these workout videos from the 80s, they were a true demonstration that people could connect virtually. They could be drawn in. And I think, Richard Simmons in his final interview, what he said was, I know people miss me. I miss them too. So this is sort of the first evolution that showed virtual connections can be meaningful for people. And it helps us understand that we can use social media to strengthen our social pillar of holistic health. It just requires feeling connected, supported, and part of a community. So let's talk about some tips that you can use to boost your social health online.
So tip 1, you can deepen the connection starting with how you respond. When you watch something on social media, replace passive likes with real comments or voice notes. Yeah. Say something.
Yeah, we started using voice memos instead of text messages with some of our family members, and it really deepened how we connect with them. I love it. You could also join groups or communities that are more aligned with your goals. So maybe you want to do a common fitness challenge, like we're putting together a Triple Crown hike, or a professional group. You're starting out or midway through your career and you need that networking, but you also need people who speak the same language. And hobby circles, there's so many different hobbies and crafts and people out there trying to learn. Get involved with the online communities to talk about this common interest and this common passion you have.
Yeah, I think if you think about your values and what's important to you and try and find people who align with that as well, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
You can schedule virtual catch-ups instead of endless messaging. So connections richer face-to-face, get on FaceTime if you have it, or Zoom, or whatever platform, but connect with someone and look at them and have a different type of connection.
Yep. And, one last tip, and I think this one's pretty important, is when you're online, instead of being that silent, passive scroller, start thinking about sharing something vulnerable or thoughtful, like once a week, to help spark those authentic conversations. Because people listen. When you share, Somebody out there needed to hear that. Somebody needed to be inspired or feel like they're not alone. And they want someone to engage with them on the same way. So, avoid the thoughtless scrolling and start to get intentional. Social media is a tool. So we should use it intentionally and use it to reinforce that feeling of belonging and help support our mental wellness.
So far, we've talked about what healthy and unhealthy use of social media might look like, how you can shift towards micro-learning content and deeper virtual connections to feed your brain instead of the algorithm when you use social media. And now let's shift and talk about a few easy tips that can support these intentional shifts.
Okay. So for the micro-learning, find like 3 micro-learning social media accounts that are related to your goals. Connect with them. Use them as sources of valid learning content.
Pay attention to the screen time summaries and considering setting a daily timer using things like Forest app or your iPhone screen time limits so that you create boundaries to support your new goals.
Yeah. And put yourself back in control, people. Curate your feed at least once a month. Review what and who you're following. It's okay. I promise I'm giving you permission right now. It is okay to unfollow accounts that drain you. Those that you stay connected to need to be accounts that educate or uplift or help you feel connected. Okay? So that brings us to almost the end of our show this week. Before we sign off, we have one last tool that we want to share. And of course, we have your Say Yes challenge for the week. This tool's really easy. It's a quick assessment you can take right now. Just listen to the questions we're going to pose you. Try to get honest with yourself. Okay? This isn't a test you have to turn in. It's just for you. So here we go. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being like no, never, and 5 being every day, how do you rate yourself? Do you use social media to learn something new daily? 1 for never, 5 for every day. Question 2, do you leave feeling connected rather than drained? Do you set intentional time limits with your social media usage? 2 more questions, guys. How often are your feeds filled with something inspirational and uplifting and they make you feel good? Last question. How often are you engaging in a meaningful way with other people? Never? I hope not. Or 5, every day you're using social media to engage meaningfully with others. Okay, so those are the questions. That's the quick assessment. Now that you've rated things in your mind, I want you to consider that when you add all of it up, right? When you rate yourself for each of these assessments, the maximum score is 25. How high do you think you actually scored? If you didn't hit 25, that is your challenge. I want you to choose one small shift, like the ones we talked about today, to help you keep improving that score. Okay? You could unfollow the draining accounts. You could add a learning page or start sending a thoughtful message to someone. Start today. And the best part about this challenge is you can keep repeating it. Keep checking in with yourself and keep repeating this process. So listeners, that brings us to the end of our time together this week. Please join our private Facebook group. You'll find the link in our show notes and let us know what small shift you made to improve your score. Before you leave, please share the wealth of health by liking and subscribing to our channel. And remember, this is your journey. It's all about taking these small, meaningful steps towards a healthier, happier you, full color. Until next time, say yes to your well-being and take care.
The content of this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Please consult a licensed healthcare provider before beginning any new health practice. Do not ignore or delay seeking medical advice because of something shared in this episode. If you're experiencing a medical emergency, call 911 or visit your nearest emergency room. Listening does not create a practitioner-client relationship. Yes to Holistic Health makes no guarantees regarding outcomes based on the information provided. Copyright notice, Yes to Holistic Health, all rights reserved. This content may be shared for non-profit educational purposes with credit to Yes to Holistic Health, no commercial use without written permission.